All right. Excuse the noise in the background. Um, Today this video is going to be about LeBron James and the Lakers and the issues that they're having. Um, I've been sitting back. I've been watching them implode on themselves pretty much for a majority of the season. Uh, I mean, I don't want to be too critical of this team. Part of it is age. Part of it is injuries. And another part of it is the low basketball IQ plays. So the Lakers, when they got Russell Westbrook, I didn't expect much. I thought that if the Lakers, if they moved Russell Westbrook to the bench, had him be a six man, have him run point off the bench. When you bring LeBron James off the floor, throw Russell Westbrook in the game. When you're ready to bring LeBron back in the game, which if you played LeBron, I don't know, man. If you play LeBron like 30 minutes, and then maybe you could give Russell, the other 18. It's a nice size. You don't have Russ out there for too much. You don't have him out there making boneheaded plays for like 35 minutes a game. It gives him some time to rest. It gives him some time to take advantage of a lot of the bench players on other teams. And he's able to run the show. He's able to run that second unit. I thought that would be the best way to get LeBron the rest that he needs without him taking off games. And it would give Russ the opportunity to be Russell Westbrook without him getting in the way. Okay? They didn't do that. They started him. And that is the worst thing you can do because LeBron James and Russell Westbrook plays the same style of basketball. Their style is incredibly alienating to their teammates. It reduces their teammates to specific roles on the floor. This is why you always see LeBron James play with outside shooters, okay, rebounders, and on-ball defenders. This is why you'll see him play with a J.R. Smith. You'll see him play with an Iman Shumpert. You'll see him play with a Tristan Thompson, Andre Drummond, whoever. And you'll also see him play with players like Kyle Korver, Channing Frye, stuff like that. You need outside shooters, you need rebounders, and you need on-ball defenders, okay? This is why you'll see him play with players like this, okay? Because he can't play with a facilitator. This is why you never seen LeBron James play with Chris Paul, ever. And to be honest, I don't think LeBron's ever entertained the idea of playing with Chris Paul. Even if he came out and said that he wanted to, I don't think he would ever really do it because Chris Paul would do the one thing that LeBron James does not want to happen. He would take the ball out of his hands. Okay? Now, the reason why the Lakers are failing as much as they are is not solely on LeBron, but part of it is on LeBron. And it's not something that he's doing wrong. What it is his age. His age has completely... I mean, sure, he's scoring 40s, 50s, 30s, almost every night. He's scoring a lot, okay? I mean, his numbers look kind of what they always look like, for the most part. I mean, and he's not playing defense as much as he's never not played defense over the past, half a decade or something like that. So, LeBron is pretty much doing LeBron things. Now, the problem with this is that he's getting older. So he's not able to take over games like he used to. Where LeBron used to have the unbelievable ability to control the pace of the game. Where if his team needs him, this is why you never really see LeBron too often losing by 20, 30 points. You never see it too often. Because he always has a knack of getting his team back in a position to either take a lead or tie the game. Okay? You never expect him to be down for too long. But he doesn't have that same motor anymore. He doesn't have that same burst anymore. So now he has to rely on his mind more than his body. Okay? Which LeBron is a incredibly smart player. I'm not saying that his mind is failing him. It's that his body's failing him. He can't do that anymore. He could take... If this was 10 years ago, if LeBron was playing with this team 10 years ago with these same players... same issues that they're having now, they would probably be a top 5 seed right now. No problem. Probably top 3. because he was just that good at getting his teams in position to win games. Even if they didn't win games, you never saw them losing by too much. Okay? But this is the problem with the way that LeBron James play basketball. And this is why, unless you're very close friends with him, you don't see too many people going out of their way to play with him. Because he reduces the role, he minimizes the role of the players. It's kind of like Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant. This is why Kobe, he could never win outside of Phil Jackson. He could never win outside of having an all-star center on his team or having Derek Fisher. Go look at it. All his championship seasons, Kobe had Derek Fisher, Phil Jackson, and at least an all-star level center on his team. Or an all-star level big man. I won't say center sometimes, because Pau Gasol could be a 4 or 5. But you never seen him have great seasons outside of those years where he didn't have Phil Jackson, he didn't have that big man, and he didn't have Derek Fisher. You don't see it. All right? Like, LeBron he's coming to realization, man. He's coming to a realization that it may be over for him. I mean, he could still, play, cash out, I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I mean, dude makes a shitload of money. I think he's $1 billion athlete. More money is not a bad thing for him. So, I mean, he can still play. He probably wants to play with his son. It could be plenty of things why he keeps suiting up every game and trying to play as much as he can. It could be plenty of reasons. I mean, another thing is the stats. Points, rebounds, assists. He's trying to be a leader in all those categories. He thinks that's going to solidify his position as the greatest basketball player ever. And it may in some people's eyes. But I feel like this is karma, This is kind of like the thing with Ben Simmons, but on a bigger scale. Ben Simmons, for the majority of the start of his career, enjoyed the fruits of being what people consider a superstar. The praise, the love, the adulation, the rewards that come with it. He enjoyed them. But the moment people got tired of what he was doing and it not resulting in what people expected him to eventually get, which is, tremendous playoff success, championships, MVP, stuff like that, being able to win games, when your team needs you to. When he wasn't able to deliver on some of those things, his fans, the media, turned against him. And when you have a kid that young who has gotten accustomed to being praised on that level, the moment you introduce any criticism into the formula, it shakes him up. And we've never really seen that. Well, early on, we've seen it with LeBron because you have some media members that would protect him, but you have some media members that would try to go out of their way to rip his head off. Okay? And you can see mentally it would get to him. There are plenty of things that would get to him, but the criticism got to LeBron. For any athlete to say they don't pay attention to what people say in the media, for what fans say online, they're liars. They do pay attention to it. But, yeah, I feel like this is karma for, a lot of years, man. A lot of years where, people said that this dude made his teammates better. I mean, this guy, he playing with LeBron should be a privilege and not really not really a negative thing. But which it is, man. Look at some people say that Kevin Love wasn't as good as people thought he was in Minnesota. But what about Chris Bosh? Even D Wade, the only player I think that played with LeBron who didn't see a reduction. There's two of them, Kyrie and Anthony Davis, that didn't see a reduction in their play is Kyrie and Anthony Davis. Everybody else, every other player that played significant roles on teams before they got to LeBron, their role gets minimized, which means their production gets minimized. But let's listen to this a little bit. Going off 9 minutes.
Thanks. All right, the Lakers play the Raptors tonight, and they find themselves as 9-point road underdogs for the second consecutive game. Shannon, scale of 1 to 10, how embarrassing is this for LeBron?
A 1. It's embarrassing.
A 1?
It's embarrassing for the Laker brand, not for LeBron.
I'm going to say this. I don't think this is embarrassing at all for LeBron. I mean, he has some media members that's on his side that's going to say it's because of this, it's because of that, it's because Anthony Davis doesn't want to stay healthy, it's because Russell Westbrook is terrible, it's because of this, it's because of that, it's because of that, and he's being protected. You gotta have some fans that's coming out and protecting him. He's being protected. So I don't think this is embarrassing at all for LeBron. If anything, it's just annoying at this point. It's like you spent most of your career playing to win, and it's like now you're having a hard time winning, and it's annoying.
First of all, they only won the 2 games since the All-Star game, and he got 56 and 50. Let me ask you a question. Has he embarrassed himself in year 19? He's the 3rd leading scorer in the NBA, shooting over 52% from the floor, 36% from the 3. Has he embarrassed himself?
Well, isn't he the best player?
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. LeBron is using the stat argument to solidify himself, to continue to keep himself in that upper echelon of basketball players. And this is why it's so hard to play with LeBron. I assume it's very hard when you're a competitor and you want to contribute just as much as LeBron contributes, but you know you can't. I mean, you get reduced. You get reduced. Having to stand at the 3-point line for a majority of the time that you're on the floor, waiting for this guy to kick you out the ball. I mean, and this is why LeBron's teams, when LeBron gets hurt or when he rests or, if he leaves the team and goes to a different team, this is why these teams struggle as bad as they do. It's because most of what they attributed, most of the assets that they allocated to, forming this team, they form it around LeBron. It's formed around LeBron. When he used to rest and not actually get hurt or whatever, but when he used to rest and he used to miss a game here, a game there, and they would lose, it's because they don't know how to play. They can't compensate for what LeBron brought to the system. The system is still in place. They don't know. They're like chickens with their head cut off. They don't know how to make those plays work like he does, and that's because it's his system that he's running out there. When Isaiah Thomas came out, when he got traded to Cleveland, when Isaiah Thomas came out and said they don't even practice here, I wasn't surprised, and I was humored by it because it further, for everybody that comes out and say the LeBron James system, it further validated those claims that he runs his own system and they like to get players. It's not that teams can't sign players. I'm pretty sure if LeBron played like a traditional small forward would play, I'm pretty sure plenty of players would want to come and want to play with him. Okay? I'm pretty sure. But his style of play is very damaging to the other players. It's very damaging. Unless you're one of those run-of-the-mill, role players almost at the end of the bench and you're coming from other teams to come to this team, well, then your role will probably be the same. Like a Kyle Korver, Channing Frye. Okay, Mo Williams. You're not really seeing a reduction because you wasn't really contributing that much anyway. But for guys like Chris Bosh, Kevin Love, you see a significant drop off in what it is you're able to bring to the table.
They're on this team.
The Lakers brand is embarrassed.
Do you realize in consecutive road games that the Lakers featuring LeBron James have been 9-point dogs against the 7th seed in each of the conferences? Yeah. Minnesota 7th seed, Toronto 7th seed.
Hold on. So,
it's not like at the time. It's not like Miami and Phoenix.
Are the Lakers a 9-point dog? Is LeBron a 9-point dog?
That's LeBron.
LeBron is supposed to be the best player on the team. He's supposed to be the leader of the team. And this is why I say LeBron is not a leader. He's not a leader, man. People keep saying he's a leader. He's not a leader. LeBron does not lead people. Okay? His play is good enough to get certain jobs done. It's not that he's leading the team. It's that they're following it or trying to follow his footsteps. They're trying to. But he's not actually getting them from one place to another. He's just out there. He's playing at a tremendous level. And sometimes it results in wins. Okay? That's not him leading anything. There are no in the sense of the word that people are using it, there are no leaders in the league anymore. Maybe Draymond Green, but I don't know how much of a leader Draymond Green is at this point. I still think Draymond Green is pivotal to that Golden State formula, but I mean his play has been very sporadic. Okay, and not many players are going to pay attention to what you're talking about if you have not backed it up already, or you're not continuing to produce something. But I still say that he's probably the vocal leader on that team. Okay, there's many different definitions to the word of leader. There's many different interpretations. LeBron is not a leader. LeBron pretends to be a vocal leader, but he's not. LeBron spends more time than any other person in the history of the game that you look at as a leader, chastising during the game, chastising and calling out his teammates. He does more of that than actually helping them be a better version of themselves. And now his play isn't strong enough. I mean, he can still go out there and get you 30 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. He can still go out there and get you that. But it's empty. It's empty calories. Because he's not impacting the game. People used to fear LeBron's teams. Look at the Toronto Raptors when they had DeMar DeRozan. They were petrified of this dude. They got swept. A number 1 seed got swept by a 4 seed. They got swept. They were afraid of this dude, man. And he walked into their house and took them out. So, I don't... Look. His play isn't strong enough anymore, so they're not going to ride on that. And they need some guidance out there. They don't have it. Frank Vogel's not a leader. Frank Vogel's not going to... Look, Frank Vogel had probably one of the most promising young cores in Indiana, and he found a way to fuck that up. Okay? I mean, Roy Hibbert was playing he was playing the best of his career. Paul George was an emerging superstar, and Lance Stevenson was almost like a Reggie Miller type of player where he can contribute, but it was more, he was a constant nuisance, which every championship team needs one of those guys that know how to get under the skin of the opposing players, either best player or tertiary player. You know, they need one of those guys that's like he's the heart and soul of this team. You know, but I don't know, man. They don't have it. They don't have it. The Lakers don't have it. Russell's damn sure not a leader. Russell Westbrook is probably one of the most overrated basketball players in a very long time. It's a tie between him and James Harden. One of the most overrated players. And I gotta throw him in there with Allen Iverson. I gotta throw him in there with Kobe Bryant. Just some of the most overrated players I've ever seen. And the reason why I say Kobe is overrated, because they're looking at this dude like he's on par with Michael Jordan, and he's not. Kobe did a lot of imitating. Kobe did a lot of mimicking some of the things that made Jordan. And what I mean is, I'm talking about the hairstyle, the mannerisms, the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he looked at things. He changed everything about himself to mimic a guy that he idolized. I mean, by the time Kobe retired, he was more Jordan than Kobe. And I'm talking about as far as visually. He was more Jordan than Kobe. Because when Kobe came into the league in like the first 5 years or so of Kobe's career, first 5, 6, 7 years of his career until Shaq got traded, Kobe was Kobe. But then it's like once he got to a certain point, he felt like he had to flip a switch. He even changed his number to 24. I guess changing it to 23 would be a little bit too much on the nose. So he changed it to 24. He was trying to be Jordan. But he didn't have that mystique about him that Jordan does. You know, it's not enough to have fans love you. It's not enough to have that. You have to instill fear in your competition, and I just don't think Kobe instilled fear in the competition. The players will come out and say, "Listen, man, it was rough playing against that guy." They'll say that because Kobe was liable to go off for like 50, 60 anytime. But as far as the team aspect goes, Kobe was nobody to be feared because he couldn't lead his teammates. He had the same problem that LeBron has, where he feigns the image of a leader, but that's only because of his status. That's only because of his popularity. It's not because of his intangibles and his ability to reach his teammates. It's not because of that. And his relationship with Smush Parker is more than enough. And I feel so bad for Smush Parker, man. I mean, this is just a kid trying to make his way in the league, getting abused verbally, emotionally by a superstar player. And then he comes out and say, it's my fault. Like, come on. Like, he was incredibly petty. All right. He was incredibly petty. And, you know, Kobe is just one of those types of players, man. But again, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, I throw them in there, man, because James Harden is another empty calories player. He's a regular season hero. He's a regular season superhero. But when it comes time for the playoffs and getting the job done in the playoffs, they're absolute messes. Okay? They're just train wrecks.
The man, he's the show. He's a 9-point dog.
The Lakers brand.
Huh?
And let LeBron leave next year, what you think you're going to be? If LeBron leaves next year, what do you...
And that's what I'm talking about. It's not that... Look at Kyle Kuzma. Look at Lonzo Ball. Look at Brandon Ingram. The players that were traded away either for LeBron or since LeBron got there, the players that were traded away, okay, it took them a while, but they found their footing. They found their footing in the league. Brandon Ingram is like a tweener. I think that his progress is being impeded being in New Orleans. I think that he needs to get out of New Orleans. Look at Lonzo Ball. He got out of New Orleans. He went to Chicago, and they started having phenomenal success there. Okay? He needs to get out of there. I don't think that it's going to benefit him in the future playing for that organization. And this is not an indictment on any woman. Listen, when you have a woman who has never played professional basketball in the NBA as your player development trainer, coach, whatever you call it, a head of player development, you're going to have a rough time. And we have yet to see that team make the playoffs. Okay? This is what I'm saying, okay? That's what I'm saying. It's hard for you to bear fruit, okay, when you have somebody not capable of doing the job because they don't know. They've never been in that environment before. They've never worked that job. They've never managed that job. But you throw them in a position of manager, supervisor, whatever you want to call that, the head of player development, whatever you want to call that position. To have somebody in that position that should not be in that position is a recipe for disaster. Okay? So, I don't know, man. I think that the Lakers, they got a championship out of it, so I don't think that they regret it. But you mortgage your future, man. You mortgaged your future for one title. When you had the pieces, the only thing that the pieces needed was the right coach and the front office to get the hell out of the way. That's what they needed. They didn't need to bring LeBron in. They don't need to keep mixing up the talent like they're doing. They don't need it. I mean, they just needed to stand pat, continue to make good moves, bring in a coach that could teach the guys, and maybe it'll bear some fruit. But you would have been better off than you are now. And now the only pick that they have in the first round is the 2027 pick, which is 5 years from now. And LeBron's not going to be around for 5 years. I'm sorry, he's not. So I find it hilarious. But I'm done. They were done with that segment. It was just a little bit on LeBron. I'm done, man. All right.